Welcome home. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, and BaltimorePositive.com. Hope you're setting a spot out on your dial for us. Hope you're planning to join us on the Maryland Crab Cake Tour stop later on this month. We're going to begin the tour on Wednesday at Coco's Pub. On Thursday, we're going to be at the BMA at Gertrude's. All of it brought to you by our friends at the Maryland Lottery. I have Ravens scratch-offs to give away. Hopefully luckier than the Ravens were themselves on Sunday. Certainly for the touchdown contest, we need more touchdowns for winners. Also, our friends at Jiffy Lube Multicare, powering Luke back and forth to Owings Mills, but not this week because they're bye-weeking and taking the week off. And this guy is taking the week on. It's a bye week around here, which means we get to concentrate and focus a little bit on other things. He manages money for lots and lots of folks. He is our financial advisor around here and our money guy. And following the American Dream, you can follow him out at RaskinGlobal.com. He's also got his mug on the front of BaltimorePositive.com. If you're seeing our work out there, read my columnists off the game, or read any of Luke's work. Leonard Raskin joins us here after a deflating, disappointing weekend, and I don't mean the turkey and the apple pie in your case, or in my case, my wife made that sweet potato pie we talked about last week.
Yeah.
Outrageously delicious. I may never go back to pumpkin.
Oh boy, there you go. Well, I had an 0 for 2 weekend. We had the Buckeyes to start Saturday.
I'll get to that.
With a dreadful loss to the non-Jim Harbaugh team up north. The city, the state is calling for the head of the coach to be terminated. And then a Sunday game.
Why do fans do that? Can I ask you that? Because I don't think you're an idiot fan, but there are days when, like, I've talked to you and I'm like, you're acting like an idiot. You know, some days but the fire the coach, the kicker, like what I see on my timeline reminds me of people that are drinking too much eggnog.
Because there's one team in that school that you have to beat. You can go. He's gone undefeated year after year after year, and you lose to Michigan, they want your head.
I understand
it's really,
that, but that's
people
not rational.
Are nuts. No, of course, people are
not
nuts.
Rational. At least we can agree that that's not rational.
Right, but the only other
that's
time
why
they
I allow
lost,
you to handle my money, because I can't have you.
The only other time they lost 4 in a row was back in the, I think, late 80s or whatever, and they fired that guy, and they preach. They have, was it Urban Meyer? I think it was Urban Meyer. Put clocks on the wall, timers that are set the minute the game's over. It's set for 365 days to the next Michigan game. And it counts down the days, weeks, minutes, every day. And it's in front of the coach's workout room. And they're all over
I don't know that's healthy,
area.
Leonard.
No, it's not.
That's not healthy.
It's not. And the thing is, Ryan Day has got to beat Michigan, and he's 0 for the last 4. So that's the only game that matters to these people. And they're nuts, and they want his head. Anyway, I don't feel sorry for him. Whatever happens will happen. The man makes $10 million a year. He'll be okay. And then we come to...
A portion of that donated by the Raskin family.
For 4 years we donated a little piece of that. Oh, and then let's just for a moment, and then we'll get off of this.
What if your kid had gone to Auburn? What was your kid's second choice? I just didn't know.
Second choice was Harrisburg. There's nothing there. Harrisburg.
Okay. We all know that you're the Thornton Melon of this
to
whole
enormous,
operation. That
small to enormous.
You had more fun with your kid in Columbus than he had.
We had a ball. So here's the other thing.
Like Ohio State before.
No,
that's the weird thing for you.
Nothing.
It's not like you went there.
Allegiance had to go with the tuition. But here's the thing. End of the game.
It could be worse. You could be rooting for Maryland. We could talk about that.
That's right. End of the game. Michigan players tried to plant the flag.
Right.
There was a big fight. Both teams brawled. And Sunday, the Big Ten came down with the big fine, $100,000 each, which was a little bit of tuition from one out-of-state kid. So what a joke the Big Ten is. Anyway,
well, the storming the field thing, we got into that last month. Maryland.
No, this was just the teams. This was no fans.
I understand. The storming the field thing with the fans is one aspect of
college
and whatever that is. But the fighting on the field, that game was not the only place
It,
this happened.
4 different times, 4 games this past weekend.
These
North Carolina,
games,
NC State. Oh yeah,
well,
they get vicious. They get vicious.
And this speaks to, and I don't want to get political with you, especially with us on different sides of the political spectrum.
Sure.
But this is what happens when you vilify the other side. You know what I mean?
Well, absolutely.
When you make it they're
more
bad,
than football.
They're bad people.
This is the same as when your kid is playing Little League and you're screaming at the umpire when you're 50 or 40. Like, what's the matter with you? Get over it. It's baseball. It's football.
It's what's happened to sportsmanship.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
And when I think of Trump in a voting standpoint, it's professional wrestling. You know what I mean?
We don't need to go there. We don't need to go there with everybody calling him a Nazi for 4 years and trying to kill the man.
It's the signs. It's the professional wrestling. It's the making your way to. It's the booing and the cheering. It's all of that in sports.
Yeah.
But professional wrestling brings this on, and the MMA is violent from its very
absolutely
and the amount of violence that
absolutely.
So
it's
the
all
fact
there.
that these kids lose a game and
go crazy,
disrespect is at the heart of all of it.
Yes.
And you're going to put your flag. That is the
that started with I think Baker Mayfield started that.
That probably started even before.
Well, it might have happened before that, but
State, probably,
right. But he's one of the first ones that the current.
How about Terrell Owens standing at the Star in Dallas, right?
Yeah, and they knocked him out.
What I'm saying is the notion that I'm going to win the football game and shake your hand in a line like
and walk away.
Right. And say we both gave it our all.
Hey, man.
I'm going to beat you. I'm going to wag my finger in your face. I'm going to disrespect.
Yeah, crazy.
Right. Like the
NHL. We've talked about it so many times. The NHL, you play, you fight, you beat. The end of the series, you line up, you shake hands like we used to in Little League. After the game, we used to walk down the line and shake hands, and that's what needs to happen.
Michigan and Ohio State have never shaken hands at the 50-yard
line. Right.
Well,
that's what needs to happen. Somebody needs to set this up
and
say this ain't the way this is supposed to be. We have kids watching this, and we got to teach them so they don't do this stupid stuff. So the next generation of college players isn't this stupid.
See, now down the dial on the Barstool Sports, the young people, they think this is like, let's have more of it.
Right. They love it. They love it.
You know, the same people that thought it was okay to storm the field because you beat a team by a point, haven't won in 6 weeks because it's fun and we're 18 and we get to do it. Well, then just storm the field every week. It would be fun. I mean,
there's lots of them to do.
What I thought
Tennessee.
about this, Leonard? Because I thought about this with ice skating the other day.
Yeah.
For some reason, I think I might have had a hockey dream for some reason, but I remembered. And maybe it had to do with even this topic of storming the field.
Yeah.
Is that when we were young and went to Clippers games or Skipjack games, you could go on the ice and
after
skate
the game and skate. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
That was a blast.
That was part of
that was great.
running the bases. If you
that was the greatest. That was the best. I did it.
Right?
Did it so many times.
So there is a point where you want to feel like you're down there and you're a part of the action,
part of the game
on it or
you're
whatever.
Part of the game.
But when you're kids at Michigan or Ohio State and you are a part of this part of the history.
This isn't kid. This is over the last Thanksgiving week when kids are born at the hospital in Ohio, in Columbus. They put the babies in red baby onesies that says beat the team up north. And when you're born in Michigan, this is bred in by crazy people. So anyway, enough of that. Let's get back to, as you said, someone said last week, less chicken, more kicking. What the heck is going on with my good friend, my colleague, my buddy, Justin Tucker? I'm at the game, and the first one was the extra point. It's like you don't even watch the extra point. Doink! And that set a precedent for a horrible game. Special teams was abysmal. We couldn't punt. We couldn't catch a punt. We couldn't kick a field goal. That game, so I got home Sunday night from the game, and I'm watching the late night because that's what I do because I'm crazy. I watched the Sunday game, which was an awesome snow globe. I love watching football in the snow. It brings back memories of neighborhood football as a kid out there playing in the snow and just loving it. So I loved it. I watched it. And then I'm watching the post game on whatever different networks, channels, whatever, and they're talking about how the Eagles dominated the Ravens. And I'm thinking, you must have seen a different game than I did. Because what I saw was two missed field goals, two short fields, and subsequent Eagle touchdowns.
Well, it's 14-12 game. So I don't know if there's any domination.
I don't even know that it's not even that.
At that point, but it's
not even that. I mean, two field goals made. You get to kick off. They don't get the ball at the 40 or the 42 with short fields to go down and score. And by the fourth quarter, I mean, the defense had to be, I mean, they've played their best couple games, totally deflated. And Saquon is a superstar because he had 50 yards on one drive. I mean, come on. Guy had 100 yards for the game.
When they needed to run in the fourth quarter, they did.
They did it. No, absolutely, they did it.
And when the Ravens needed to make kicks, they missed them. I wrote this in my column, in the aftermath at 8 o'clock while the snow globe was going on, and I'm watching Sunday Night Football and thinking, how did Collinsworth kid get that gig? But
that ain't hard to figure out, is it?
Okay, fair enough. So I wrote about this, and I said it's not a stretch to say if this were a Super Bowl, this would be a good fight.
Yeah,
styles make fights.
Absolutely.
I thought both teams with the running game, both teams defensive issues. Eagles stepped up defensively in the game. The kicking game and the operation special teams haven't been good enough for the Ravens. We can talk about that. But just in a general sense, and I felt this way even more so than like the Steelers or whatever, I felt like this is a fair fight.
Absolutely.
Because the Ravens
match.
most weeks.
Good match.
The Ravens go on the road to L.A. and they're a favorite on the road, which tells you right away they don't think much of that team, whatever that team is. And that would just mean Vegas or winning and losing because the Ravens lost to the Browns, the Ravens lost to the Raiders. I'll hear all that. But it's unique to me when the game starts and the chin straps are recently in the Lamar era where I'm like, that team first off, they put their pants on because all these NFC teams, they motorboated the 49ers and the Lions.
Destroyed
good teams last year.
Destroyed them.
Destroyed the Bills here 10 weeks ago, right? So like they have beaten
something was amiss.
Good teams that now the Chiefs are different for them when they play the Chiefs. I feel that way. They don't play them all that often. But I felt like in this game, especially at halftime, I felt like this is a good football game. These are two really good teams. And, there's going to be a big play. There's going to be a strip. There's going to be a sack. There's going to be an interception. There's going to be field goals made or missed, right, that are going to define the game. And in the end, for me, I'm worried about the Ravens in a lot of ways at this point. And I'm worried about them because of how many losses they've added up. The uncertainty now of the offensive line, the uncertainty of the defense in a general sense. And the kicking game and Justin Tucker. Now, you have already said you're friends with Justin Tucker.
Well, not friends, but I know. I mean, I know him. I've met him. I've talked to him a lot. And over the years, it's amazing. Kathy said after the game, the accolades that you get and all the propped up, the GOAT and the everything and how people love you and you're the automatic. And then you come in now and it's like, oh my God, is he going to make this kick? And an extra point doinks and a 50-yarder goes through, and you go, okay, maybe he's good. And then,
when the extra points are an adventure,
that's not a good day.
You can't have the extra points be an adventure.
I mean, again, I'm watching college football Saturday pregame, and they're talking about the Texas A&M game because this is the big rivalry on their side, and they showed Tucker in overtime.
I saw
beating A&M, and the record was he never missed a kick in the fourth quarter or overtime in his college career. And then he came here, and nobody knew who he was, and he was magic. Undrafted, magical, making kicks everywhere. And you go, wait a minute, is the holder not holding the ball right? Because you can't blame the kicker. It's got to be the holder.
He hasn't lost strength in that way.
Right.
Now, Luke and I
so
had
what
an
is
argument like he won't be hitting 66-yard field goals again, and I'm like, if they had to win a game
in Detroit, they try it
inside,
they do it.
I mean, he could make that kind of kick because he still has the leg.
Yeah, something's up.
This is in the head, and
Yeah,
this is why I
agree.
ask you.
I agree.
This is why I asked you about him in regard, because obviously I'm Royal Farm sponsored, the ads, the chicken, the coffee, all that. I've seen him drinking Starbucks and whatever.
He ain't taking time out of the practice to make these commercials that's causing this.
I'm not.
This is ridiculous.
What fans?
Fans are going crazy.
I know Justin Tucker. I've known him since he's a kid.
Yeah.
He's done my show. He's not done my show.
Right.
He's welcomed me to leave the locker room back in the day when I used to look at him on the way out of the locker room and say, okay, dude, whatever. But this is what I would say about Justin Tucker. And this has nothing to do with my personal feelings with him, which came out in Luke's thing. But it is what it is. He is, in my experience of only 40 years of being in locker rooms and around nothing but athletes in their mainly in their 20s and 30s, right?
Yeah.
All men, mainly. They cover some women's sports, but
of course.
He is, as put the word synonym you like, cocky, arrogant, sure, confident, self-assured.
Yep.
Whatever the spectrum
no doubt.
of.
No doubt.
I think I'm good. I know I'm good. Sure, I'm humble, but I'm not really because look at how great I am.
Look at how. Look.
So that's Justin Tucker in the real world to me.
Yes.
That's who he's been. It really rubbed a lot of guys the wrong way until he started taking kicks. Back when he was the young kid, a lot of the veteran guys were like,
"Who's this kid?
Who's the skinny kid playing kicker? No, he was playing the cornhole in the locker room with Tim Cook and the Wolf Pack, and Justin is a eccentric cat. I don't know what else to say. It's not a liking him, dislike, whatever.
No,
he's just a different bird. As far as somebody that's singing in the locker room and just in a general sense, he is not like a normal kicker. And the Royal Farms commercials would be a testament to that. There's nobody else in the league that's had a 10-year endorsement contract with a local anything, anywhere for being, not even Adam Vinatieri, for being a kicker, right?
Yeah.
Other than the loudmouth that's making $1 billion doing the ESPN thing was the punter, right?
Sure.
But in Tucker's case, I only know of one Justin Tucker, and that's for better or worse, like him or hate him, whether he made the kick because he made all the kicks, right?
Right.
Was this level of confidence that you can portray in whatever positive or praising way.
Right. You can like it or not like it.
You could say, well, he's really humble for being great. I spent a lot of time around him. I would never describe Justin Tucker as humble. But
confident.
I would also say,
I think confident is a great word.
Is it arrogant if you say, give me the ball at 66 yards,
and you make it,
and you do it? I don't think that's arrogant.
I don't think that's arrogant one bit. Not one bit.
I would just say, I only know him to be very, very assured that he's going to do what he can do. That feels like it's gone. And that, as Bruce Springsteen would say, that might be the magic trick. The magic trick might be the confidence that there are 50 guys that can hit 60-yard field goals. There's just a handful of them that do it because of the level of shutting out the world
and getting up there and doing it.
Because he's capable
physically
of doing it. You and I are not, right?
No.
So,
and if you watch Saturday morning,
you take a man's confidence that's capable of greatness, you may take everything. And I know on my worst days, when my confidence is gone, I'm a really, really shitty radio host.
Hey, look, I know darn well, I'm with you 100%. And I know darn well when I speak what I speak to clients, when we're talking their money, if I'm not on my game, I need to cancel meetings. If I'm handling your dollars and helping you figure out what you're supposed to do.
And your mother got sick this morning and you're not there.
Then my day of helping you, when I'm not at my best, you don't get your best. Because it has to come. Has to come as a package. And I think you're absolutely right. I think something got in there. I don't know what it is, but a miss here, a miss there, and then suddenly your brain starts playing with you. And I listened to a guy, Nest, like 2 weeks ago. I subscribe to a service of a gentleman who's a personal coach. I don't like that term because there's a million of them these days. It's like a cottage industry. But this guy is really good. He coaches top performers, like Tony Robbins.
Yeah,
he's that kind of guy.
I am a Tony Robbins devotee. With a mutual friend of ours, Karen Faulkner, did a segment with me last week up in Greenmount Station, just about confidence and
Yep.
about how all of this, people see the documentary. Well, I mean, part of it is just foundational, getting out of bed in the morning and
Yep.
believing you can do it and
And
doing
then
what you're
doing it
capable of
and
doing, what
doing
you're
it.
capable of
That's
doing.
right. So this guy, I subscribe to a service that he puts on, which is every other week. He has a top business executive, business consultant, whatever, personal on a Zoom for an hour. And it's open Q&A with these amazing people. Amazing people. Tony, all these people. Anyway, he had a guy on, I do not remember his name. I could look it up in a minute, a couple weeks ago. This guy is a uh, sports psychologist exclusively for golf. That's what he does.
Peak performance.
Peak performance for golfers. And his goal is to shave a stroke. The difference in a winning tournament and losing tournament, I believe, like number 1 to number 200 in the world is a half a stroke around, if that, if you look it up. It's super small. And this guy coaches golfers in how to get into the mindset that it takes to play the game at the pro level. And talks about multiple PGA Tour players that he has coached to massive wins.
Well, you know, when I ran into Tony Robbins, it was in the Capitals locker room.
There you go.
He has a ring, and the reason he was there
Yep.
is he was coaching the European kids.
Yeah.
He was with Ovechkin.
Yep.
Kuznetsov, and who was the other one? It wasn't
Backstrom.
Varlamov.
I don't know. Could be anybody.
Kuznetsov. No, that was the year they won the cup. They had
two
young Russian kids.
Okay.
Yeah, but either way,
he was
there to peak performance coach.
It's between the ears. It's not in the leg. It's between the ears. And for the best of the best, look, as I said, I as a business owner, financial advisor, helping people create their American dream, if I don't say it right, if I don't act it right, if I don't discuss it, it doesn't happen. And that pains me for the people that could have what they could have relative to their money. And so I have coaches that help me be better, do better, say it better, act better, think it better, for people to get that. And I don't know what Justin's got. I don't know. But it seems that you don't need a kicking coach.
He didn't need a confidence coach for 50. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like,
that's right, but something.
He didn't need Tony Robbins.
Something
Maybe
is
he
up.
had that, but
one of my least favorite commercials, series of commercials currently on TV, is Allstate and this idiot who's making a fortune as this mayhem. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, chaos guy. Yeah.
Yeah, making a fortune. And there's a new one that's out just recently I've seen called The Yips. Have you seen it?
No.
He walks by a golfer and they shank a shot. He walks by a soccer kicker in a game and they kick the ball instead of towards the net like 90 degrees in the wrong direction. It hits a car. The car has an accident, and without good insurance, you'd have to pay for that. I think they're the dumbest thing in the world. But my point is, they've now created a commercial about the Yips. And who was the baseball player couldn't throw from second to first? Remember that?
Steve Sachs.
Steve Sachs, right.
We go through all. By the way, in college, in my senior paper,
yep.
I wrote a piece about hypnosis in sports.
There you go.
Dude, this is in 1990, 91
when
I'm working at the paper.
Sure.
Right? I mean, I'm a professional writer, and I was looking for a piece to do. It was in a logic class, I believe.
Yeah.
And I wrote this piece, and there was a San Diego State center. I don't remember the kid's name. He was like a 4th or 5th round draft pick. He never made it. I think he was drafted by the Chiefs. But I actually sought him out because I had seen. And in those days, just magazine stories that are written or whatever. But I'm going back 40 years ago to that sort of science. When I found Tony Robbins in 1993, 1994, and believing in all of that, I know way too much about sports, having done this on the inside where I've been on airplanes next to people who were literally taking the needles to Cleveland to inject folks with the fluids and do all of the stuff that Derrick Henry talks about, his nutrition and
Yeah,
all of
yeah,
that
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
thing.
Yep,
But the actual mind coaching and
yep,
the
yep.
and that part of it, I don't know what the Ravens employ these
I
days
don't
for
know.
witch
No
doctors and
idea.
Jobu's rum and
Yeah, no
whatever
idea.
it is. But with Justin Tucker, I can tell you, I've never met anyone more confident than
Absolutely.
Justin Tucker.
I agree.
And I that is
I
not what I'm
agree.
seeing in body language.
Right,
That's not what
right.
I'm seeing in the locker room afterward. I asked Luke about it. Luke and I did an hour on Justin Tucker this week. Please
Yeah,
go listen to it.
yeah, yeah.
But I don't. This is nothing to do with fried chicken or
No,
commercials
of
or my
course not.
feelings for
Of
him
course
or
not.
him yelling for me to get out of the locker room years ago. None of that,
No,
right?
no.
This is just like the Ravens have a hell of a thing here now with not just cap position deciding, but in the case of Luke and I talking about it for an hour and still not having an outcome, which is you really going to get a better kicker than him the next month?
No,
Because if you cut him,
no.
he's going to
Oh,
be on
no.
another team
In a minute.
in a
In a
minute
minute.
and probably on a playoff team because he's
In a
going to
minute.
pick the team he's going to go try
Yeah,
to help
that I
resurrect,
think that's
right?
a bad call. And people are crazy, of
Okay,
course.
so you're not cutting him, then what are you doing?
You're going to help them any way you can. Whatever that it is, you got to get it back.
But
Look,
he's a guy who's never needed help before.
that's the hardest one to get to, isn't it? The
It's like
hardest
telling
one
Mr.
to get
Rubenstein
to.
how to run a baseball team. Like he's a billionaire. He knows
No,
everything.
that's different. That's just arrogance of a billionaire. This is a
But
guy.
once you've done it, I didn't need that before. And look,
Yeah,
I'm still
that's
kicking the
why
ball
it's the
60
hardest.
yards.
That's why it's the hardest
This
one to
isn't
get
about
to.
my head. This is about where my foot is.
Maybe.
This is about right.
Well, then,
I mean,
then guess what? You got 2 weeks now to fix your foot. You got 2 weeks to. You got a week. I give them a week to figure it out, and then I give them a week that we help them. Look, here's the bottom line. If I'm doing a bad job, if I'm not hitting my gig, if I'm not on my game, hopefully, I'll give you another example. Let's talk about this. Is real simple.
okay.
I saw. Now you may know him. I don't know him. I've met him a few times. Michael Phelps.
I do not know Michael Phelps at all.
I spoke to him. I watched him do a presentation. Not a keynote, but a Q&A. I don't think he could do a keynote. He's not that guy. But he could do a Q&A. And he talked about that his coach saw something in him as a kid. And he spent every day hours in the pool. And his coach would watch him and tell him when his stroke was off that much to be better. And when his turn was just not perfect, Bowman would look at his turn and when it wasn't exact. And he said they practiced everything over and over. I remember him saying they practiced when Michael was in the pool. And what would happen if you were in the Olympics and your goggles came off? How would you keep going? How would you swim? How do you reach the wall for that outlast by a fingernail the other guy in the pool? He said, I would have never achieved what I did without my coach. That the job of a great coach is to get the best out of you when you're doing your best and to get the best out of you when you're not. And that's not, I don't think it's Harbaugh. I mean, he's the head coach. He's obviously, look, he walked over to him and gave him a hug after he missed the kick. So you got to be there, but you got to be there when the guy's off and say, we got to figure this out together. We're going to figure out what's going on.
I don't think there's a priest or a rabbi or Tony Robbins to come in and sit down with Justin Tucker. Like, I don't even know where they would begin with this because in a lot of cases, you see in baseball specifically, I use that as an example.
Sure.
You just can't at the you can't the bat slows down.
Right.
Like things slow down. I don't know with Tucker, like when I'm watching him hit or miss these kicks, this is literally about where the golf club in his foot is and where the ball
I don't know what it's about. I'm not that specific into kicking to know whether he's planting the same. But here's the thing. Another great example. I mean, we had a golf tournament years ago. We hosted a golf tournament. We had a guy, he's a pro golfer. He came, he set up a camera behind the tee, and he videoed every player hitting off the tee. And it was really cool. He sent every player that teed off a pro golfer that most closely matched their swing and why they were off by that much and the pro was right here down the middle, and critiqued their swing and said, this is what you need to do. There's obviously video of every kick he's ever kicked. There's got to be somebody that can say, your plant foot is 2 inches too far. You're whatever.
Having spent a lot of time around Matt Stover, who is my friend and continues to be my friend, and Matt and I bonded over him being a nerd, about all of this, and me being a reporter trying to learn things, right?
Yeah, sure.
We're being foolish even talking about this.
Yeah, we don't know.
I don't know. Of science when
it's
it comes
amazing.
To
somebody knows. My point is somebody knows.
Air, video.
Somebody knows. That's all I'm saying.
All of that, and I'm promising you, it's mechanical at this point.
It very well may be.
Approach it that way.
Maybe whether it's mechanical or mental, you got 2 weeks to get on board. You got 4 games left in the playoffs.
I just don't think it's pragmatic to think about we're bringing other kickers in.
Of course not. That's ridiculous. And the people that are screaming that are the same ones that want to plant a flag in the middle of the O or the middle of the N. What is it? I don't know what it is in Carolina, the NC, whatever's on the field, the Tar Heel head.
They got the Tar Heel, right?
Yeah, because NC State beat them and went nuts. And then there were 3 of them or 4 of them this past, this weekend of crazy people in college planting their flag and going nuts. So what are you going to do? College kids going nuts. Go figure that, huh?
College how many Eagles fans were at the game Sunday?
A lot.
More than you've ever seen, or no?
More than is typical. Yeah. You could. They weren't singing loud enough. The EAGL. Yeah, a lot. I would say
that's the part that bothers me for the
20%,
franchise.
20%.
I went headlong with Luke into this, and just that above and beyond everything in my personal situation and all that, somebody was probably wearing a Bill Bergey a jersey and in my seat up in section 513.
Sure,
but just it's disappointing to me.
Lots and lots of Eagles fans.
That doesn't happen in Buffalo. That doesn't happen in Kansas City.
Lots of green in the crowd. All around us. It's kind of crazy. You got these guys and gals sitting right next to me. The guys all Ravens, the girls all Eagles. I'm thinking, what are you bringing her for?
They met in Elkton. They met in Elkton. So
they met in Elkton. That's right. They met at the border.
Anytime I see Steelers and Ravens, I'm like, you from Hagerstown?
Right. What's up with that? What's up with
Leonard
that?
Raskin.
Right.
He's Raskin Global. You'll help people in Hagerstown or Elkton or Baltimore or Annapolis or even Philadelphia with their money.
Absolutely. Anywhere across the country.
And look, I know of your fondness for Justin Tucker and
good
obviously
man.
the Royal Farms relationship
good
and
man.
all that. Like I
like
want
confidence.
him to be straightened out, but
I like confidence.
This weird thing where I look at him and see him looking not like the Justin Tucker I remember.
And do this.
I think it's hard to kick it that way. And I don't think he even knows how to I don't know that he's had to deal with this before. And
right. I would imagine not. That's my point. That's why it's the hardest to get to.
When Bon Jovi can't sing anymore, I mean, there's a whole story been made about that, but it becomes very difficult. It's kind of like when I lost it doing radio. When I stopped being good at this, it was terrible, especially for the audience.
You got to get it back. That's right. For the people that matter. It's for the people that matter. It's not for yourself. It's for the team. You got to get it back. So let's hope he gets it back.
Up, down, trying to get that feeling again.
That's it.
We have a week off, okay?
Yes.
The Orioles might do something this week. Army, Navy. We got all sorts of things going on around here. Luke's and Owings Mills, all of it brought to you by our friends at Jiffy Lube Multi-Care, who's putting us out on the road with the Crab Cake Tour. Crab cakes galore between now and Christmas time through the holiday. We encourage everyone to ship through the holidays, whether it's New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve, anything you're celebrating, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, or just like, hey, I like you. It's December
Tuesday.
And you need a crab cake to send us some crab cakes.
Get a crab cake. There's
never a bad day for a crab. Wednesday, by the way, is a Coco's crab cake. Thursday, by the way, we're going to be at Gertrude's at the BMA.
There you go.
With my cousin, John Shields, and Dan Rodricks, who I'm not related to, but I've known him longer than I've known most relatives. We're getting ready for the holidays. Next week, On Wednesday, we will be back down at Fadley's at Lexington Market. Then on the 17th, we're going to a non-crab cake location. It'll be controversial until you eat the food. We're going to be in Amici's. I'm going to substitute
There we go.
meatballs for crab
Amen.
cakes on the 17th.
Good as it gets.
And at Ponte Rotundo, forget about it. And then we're going to be doing a legitimate crab cake and legitimate homecoming at Costas in Dundalk on the 18th. I think Gina Shock's going to be coming down. I'm trying to get John Allen, but his band's out on the road. He was out through Thanksgiving, and Stone Horses are out there rocking it all through the Midwest on a big, big tour. So I don't think my boy John's going to be with me, so I have to drag him out. We're going to Bel Air at Lib's Grill in early January. We're getting to some new locations. So if you have a good crab cake location, throw me a note. Nasty at WNST.net or Ness at BaltimorePositive.com. Both ways find me. Leonard, towel off, relax.
It's all
you can't
good.
lose this weekend. I'll tell you that much, right?
No, can't lose. Can't lose.
Do you think they can still win the Super Bowl?
Less than I did.
Why?
Just lack of execution. Well, the execution is getting a little better. A little better. Not as many penalties. Defense looks stronger. I like what I'm hearing from them. There's a chance. There's just a lot of good teams ahead of them. A lot of good teams ahead of them. Kansas City, Buffalo, tough.
With 5 losses at this point, the thing I spoke to Luke about was
you beat yourself in 3 of them. You beat yourself in 3 of them.
Yeah, I don't think that. I mean, they still add up. And the Bill, in my
right, that's my point.
Like, if they are playing on Christmas Day and fighting to get into the playoffs somehow, and that's almost impossible because nobody's coming and catching them.
Right.
But like, if they start taking on a 6th or a 7th loss, and this whole nonsense where they're playing the Giants and then they have to go play in 6 days and then in 4 days, like the schedule really is crazy for them around the holidays.
Not in their favor.
At a time where I thought they would have 3 losses now, not 5.
I thought 2.
Well,
and they blew it. So that's 5, and you are what your record says you are.
And I was impressed by the Eagles too, so I want to say that.
Yeah, they played a good game.
A ton of analysis. I'll continue to do analysis here this week. He is Leonard Raskin. I am Nestor. Please find him at Raskin Global and handling the American Dream. And every time I say American Dream, I think of Dusty Rhodes with you. I'm going to work on my Dusty impersonation. I'm Nestor. We are WNST AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. Hang in there. The sky's not falling. There's still
That's right.
Hang in.